Hi, and welcome to the fan. Welcome my guest today, Cuba. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm Cuba. I'm happy to be here at the Skullmaster's bar, and I believe I'm the first guest here live.
You are
in person.
the first one. Now that we can, socialize.
Yeah. I got our fancy drinks, our invisible masks. We have masks on. We're 6 feet apart. It's going well.
Kind of.
I'm happy to be doing this.
Yes. Okay, so let's get right to it.
Yeah.
At what age did you start to take an interest in wrestling?
I was around 4 or 5. I just stumbled across it on TV, and Jake the Snake was my first favorite. I just found him fascinating, and then I started going to the video store and renting some of the tapes and stuff, and something I always really loved.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was about 4 or 5. I don't know exactly when.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember what age I was.
I remember because my mom made me like a fake snake bag, and she used like this hose and made me a fake snake, and I would like DDT the pillow and take the big snake out of the bag and put it on there. So I always remember that.
I just remember being with my dad, and we go to my cousins, and myself and the boys would watch wrestling with our dads. And, yeah.
Yes.
So who were some of your childhood favorites?
Well, first favorite was Jake the Snake, and then my second favorite was Undertaker, but that was around 1990. I was born in 82, so I would have been like around 8 then. So Undertaker was my second favorite. But I liked, back in the 80s, all of them were good. Like, I liked everybody. I was totally bought into WWF at the time.
Yeah, I think the 80s were the best.
There's so many, like, everyone was a star or had like a good persona or whatever.
Yeah.
But, so I loved all of them. But those were the ones that were real my favorites. Because I remember they wrestled at WrestleMania 8, and that was like the biggest thing to me. I didn't know who to cheer for. It was like, I was so conflicted. Like, I love them both. I don't want either of them to lose.
I had Jake the Snake. Still is, has always been one of my favorites. And Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of do my entrance kind of like the Warrior, like running around. I took it from him. But he never slapped hands, so I'm like, I wish he would always just slapped hands, so that's why I'm like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna at least touch 5 5s or whatever. Yeah, it was great back then.
You might have to start doing like a flip bump.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, what am I gonna do? Just like do the fake high fives?
Air high five. So who do you like now?
Who do I like now? I don't really watch it that much now, but I really like Cesaro. I always thought he's the one that I've liked the last couple of years. I'd always felt like they should have done more with him. But I like a lot of the guys, like my peers that I wrestle with, like not the TV guys, because I follow that more, like the indie guys that are kind of in Ontario or BC. But there's so many people I like, to be honest. But I haven't been watching as much without the crowds, the WWE or AEW and stuff.
Yeah, I like AEW. It's a good one. I find they can keep you hooked even without the crowd.
Yeah, I find because you never know what's going to happen. Where I mean, WWE, it's easily to predict now. I think nowadays.
It is. So, would you say the 80s was your favorite era of wrestling, or do you have a different era?
I also because I wasn't into it as much for a bit there. Because it wasn't popular in school. Like, when I talked about it, none of my friends like that. They were more into hockey or baseball or music or whatever. But then when Stone Cold and The Rock came, that made it popular and everyone was wearing the shirts. So those two would be my favorite eras, kind of neck and neck.
So the Attitude Era.
Yeah, like NWO, because it became popular again. And then I was like, me and my friends were always wrestling, but we were like embarrassed to tell people. But then it was like cool that we did it. So that was a good change for us.
So how did you get involved in the wrestling business?
Well, I always wanted to be a wrestler. And I didn't want to have any regrets. Like, I knew I had to chase my dreams just so when I was older I could say that I at least went for it. I didn't want to look back and say, what would have happened? So I always knew I was going to be a wrestler. So when I graduated, I didn't even have internet because I grew up in Campbell River, British Columbia, but I lived out of the town, like in the farming area, so we didn't have internet. So I'd ask my friends, and they did like searches for wrestling schools with me, and then I found one in Cambridge, Ontario, and the other ones were in the States, where I was like, well, it'd be better if my mom said, why don't you do the Canada one, because then you can still work. You don't need a green card or whatever. And then they also said they had to live in dormitory, so I wouldn't have to find my own place. So about a month after graduating, I moved out here. Well, to Cambridge, but pretty close, yeah.
So, who was your very first match against?
It was a guy in the training school. I don't think you've heard of him. It's on YouTube, and his name was Don Coyote. He was like this
I've
indie
heard that
guy.
name.
Really?
I think someone might have mentioned that name to me before.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, he was someone that we trained with, and they did a show in Cambridge at the Steelworkers Hall, and this was about in October of 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I left there. I went there about July, so about 2 or 3 months after training, I did my first match against Don Coyote.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's on YouTube. It's not that bad if you want to watch it.
I might have to just look at it.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite type of match to be in?
My favorite type of match? I don't even care what type of match it is. To me, it's the crowd. I could be having like a match with weapons or a silly match, and that doesn't matter to me. It's just how loud the crowd is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't really matter, because if you're busting your balls in there and you're like really working hard and they're dead quiet, or there's only like 10 people there,
Mm-hmm.
so for me it doesn't really matter. It just, the crowd response makes it for me. You get those goosebumps, that adrenaline. And because when I first wrestled, I was really shy, so I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't even make eye contact with the crowd. I would just get in there and do the moves. And I've learned to overcome that, and now like when I say something to them, they will respond back, and that's just a great feeling. Because I am really shy, so it's like, if I'm gonna put myself out there and then they actually react, it's like such a great, like so gratifying that I'm like, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that?
Yeah. Do you have a match that comes to mind that is a memorable one for you?
Oh, I have tons. For the recent ones, I would say the last PWA in Guelph against Eddie Osborne, and the Reggie Marley retirement match.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have one, I believe it was 2005, I went back home to BC, and I wrestled Eddie Osborne, and it was the only time a few of my family members, like my mom lives out here, and my sister was out here for a bit, but the rest of my family lives in BC, and they were able to see me.
Yeah.
And some of my high school friends and stuff that lived out there. So that was just, I don't know, it was like full circle. I always told them I was going to be a wrestler. A lot of them didn't believe me, and then to show them, like kind of rub it in their face. And then the ones that did support me, it was like, it was just, I don't know, those are the three that really stand out. I couldn't pick one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You don't have to just pick one.
I don't want to have regrets that I'm like, oh, I'm going to go home and why didn't I say that one?
It's okay. I like hearing all the stories and stuff for you, so that's good. Do you have any pre-show rituals that you do to get yourself in the zone before a show?
I just visualize and I pace a lot. I pace a lot, and I get really, really, really nervous, and I feel like I have to go to the bathroom like 100 times, and I'll try and go to the bathroom, and I'll just like little piddles will come out, because I don't actually have to go to the bathroom, but I get really nervous. Like I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and I feel like I gotta go to the bathroom, or I'm gonna pee my pants, and then, but I pace a lot, and I try and close my eyes and just like visualize what I'm gonna do, and then usually it works out.
Yeah.
Not always, but for the most part.
Okay. What has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome with wrestling?
I'm not athletic. When I grew up as a kid, like I played other sports like hockey and baseball, but I had a lot of medical problems. Like I used to go to the Shriners Children's Hospital in Portland, Oregon, because my hamstrings are too short for my legs, and I'm a hunchback. I don't know if you've noticed.
Not
like
really,
look at the way
no.
I know, because I just got. But look at this is my posture. I should be sitting like this, but I I had that, and I was always, and my feet are inturned, so every time I got a new pair of shoes, I had to get like these special insoles made. So I was always really slow, and I was always really weak and non-athletic. So that, I think that's why I got into wrestling, because like baseball, I loved baseball and I loved hockey, but I just couldn't keep up with the other kids. Where wrestling is not just about athletics. I mean, it is, but it, like, if you are good to engage with the audience, you can kind of mirror or mask that a bit, I guess. So like I can't do flips, like I can't do a backflip. Like some of those guys could do those. I can't even do that. But I'm just willing. I'm just like, I'll jump off the top rope. I can't really do anything fancy, but I'm brave, I guess. But I guess that's my thing. I can't keep up with some of those guys that can do like flips, or like they can lift people up. I'm not really one to pick people up very often either. Like I'm not very strong or fast.
So is there anyone living or dead who you would love to have a match with?
Well, obviously Jake the Snake and Undertaker, I'd love to wrestle them.
Yeah.
Because they were my heroes, right? And I don't think either of them are really going to be wrestling anymore. So
I don't think so.
yeah, like Undertaker did that whole thing.
Yeah.
And even if he was, he wouldn't be against me. And then Jake's so old now too, so I don't know. I guess I would just pick anybody that I really like. For Rey Mysterio was a huge favorite of mine back in when I first started watching WCW, because he was so small and I was really, really skinny in high school, and I'd get teased about it a bit, and I was just like, look, you don't have to be big, you know, like, so he was really inspiring to me, so I'd love to wrestle him too.
Yeah.
And like I said, Cesaro's one of my favorite. He stayed at my house one time, so
Yeah?
yeah,
Cool.
he did some shows up here for us in Kitchener, and so ever since he was like such a nice guy, so I'm like, oh, he stayed at my house one day, so we're best friends now. So, but I think he's like the best wrestler now, and if I wrestled him, he could make me look more better. He could make me look better than anybody else could. I don't think he's ever had a bad match, in my opinion.
So how many matches would you say you've had?
I don't know. I wish, like, some of the guys kept notes of everything, and I really wish I would have done that. I would say in the 500 range, because like there's some websites that have it. Like there's there's cagematches.com, and they have like 300 or so of mine on there. But I know tons of other ones that I did that weren't. The results are not online, especially back then when the internet wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
But for my best estimate, I would say around 500. But it could be like 400 to 600, somewhere in there. I really wish, like, Eddie Osborne wrote down every match, and then I was on a lot of those shows with him, so I'd go through and I'd be like, okay, I remember I wrestled that day against somebody else. But I would say in that era. I really wish I would have kept track. I kept a lot of posters and ticket stubs and stuff, but I wish I would have just, every time I wrestled, put the date and who it was. I really regret not doing that. But yeah, that's my best estimate.
That's a pretty big estimate.
Yeah.
Where do you get your energy from? Do you draw it from the crowd? Or do you just naturally have that much energy?
I do not. Like I said, when I first started wrestling, I was really shy and I wouldn't say anything. And then my whole thing is I would just say Cuba. And it was like, because I didn't speak English. So I was like this Cuban guy. So it was like, that was my excuse. I couldn't speak English, right? But then it's like, after you've lived in Canada 20 years, what's your excuse now? Like, obviously you would know English. But what happened was, I ran a daycare for like 5 years. So I got to be really immature with the kids almost. Like, I would be a disciplinary figure, but I also I find they would listen to me better if I would play with them on their level, so I could be silly when it comes, but then also be stopped and say, okay, hold on. But what happened was I took a break from wrestling for a couple years. I had a bunch of injuries, I had a bunch of family drama and stuff, so I started going and I watched a couple of the PWA shows, but I didn't wrestle on them after taking about a year or two off. I went to the one where Hardcore Hick fought Tommy Dreamer, and there was one with Jimmy King versus Carlito. And I sat in the crowd and I watched all the matches, and I was like, when I come back, I need like some of the guys were very outgoing and like Lenny and stuff like that, and they were really pandering to the crowd and getting a reaction out of them. And I was like, if I'm gonna come back and do this, I need to be over the top. And it's really hard for me because I'm shy, and like, what if they don't react the way I want? It'd be really embarrassing if I went out there and been really silly, and they're like, because I'm sure a lot of people think it's corny. Like, the kids may like it, but some of the adults are probably like, look at this stupid, silly guy, right?
I don't know. You seem to have a pretty good fan base.
Yeah, but I was worried that it wouldn't work. But I was like, I need to just be over the top. I need to, like, how am I gonna stand out? Like, I'm not stronger than anyone. I'm not faster than anyone. I don't have muscles. Like, what is gonna set me apart? I was always a good wrestler, but what is gonna make me, like, when people leave, they're gonna be like, remember that Elian guy? Like, and now I was like, I gotta be like over. And I remember talking to a couple of my friends about it, and I was like, I'm gonna be this really, really silly version of Elian. And they were like, okay, because they didn't really understand what I meant. So I'm like, just watch. Like, and then I kept changing it as, like, I kept evolving it. Like, that was kind of dumb. I shouldn't have done that. Maybe next time I'll do this. And like, the things that really worked, I kept, and then things that didn't work. So it was really a lot of trial and error. But I had it in my mind made up that I had to be over the top. I had to be just different than everyone else.
Nice.
And it worked out, but I was really scared, honestly. Like, I was shaking. I was like, oh my god.
You're not the only one I know to tell me that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
where did your persona come from? I guess you just kind of, in a sense, told me how you came up with Cuba.
well, yeah, the name. What happens when I went in 2000? That's when I graduated and went to the Cambridge Wrestling School. They were like saying, well, you kind of look. There was this kid on the news called Elian Gonzalez. His dad took him to the States or something, and then he was from Cuba, and then like the SWAT team had to come get him, and it was all over the news. And like my aunt had done a bunch of like those DNA things and stuff like that, and we never knew where my mom's dad, so my grandpa, was from, because we have a bit of dark in us, because everyone else in my family is just straight up white, like all from England and whatever, but I kind of take after my grandpa. I had a bit of darker skin and darker hair, and they were like, it's got to be either Cuban or native Indian or whatever, right? So, and then they started saying that, and it just happened to be on the news at the time, and they're like, oh, Elian, because you look like that Elian kid that's in the newspapers. And I was like, that's perfect. I'll just be the Elian kid, because there's tons of Mexico wrestlers, but there wasn't a lot of Cuban.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that'll be different, like, because I didn't want to wear a mask and be like, you know, like a masked Mexican luchador, but I was like, you know, there's not a lot of Cubans. Why don't I just be the Cuban? Excuse me. So that's where it came from, and then I got the. And then when you're starting, you have to do what your trainers tell you to do, and they told me to do it too. So I was like, okay, well, that's a good idea.
That's awesome. So, what do you like most about wrestling, and what do you like least about wrestling?
The thing I like the most is that it's my favorite thing in the whole world. I love it more than anything, and that's like the gift and the curse, and that's also the thing I like the least about it. It's that I can't stop thinking about it. Like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, when I go home after a match, I'm so on such a high and such a, like, I'll never get that feeling, but then I'm also the opposite of it. Like, if I did one thing wrong, I'll be mad at myself for weeks and weeks. So it's like, same thing really for both questions. It's because I love it and I'm obsessed. I can't stop thinking, like even if I'm like doing a job or doing something I'm concentrating on, I still have like this little part of my brain that always wrestling is on, where I can always take something and like turn it into wrestling somehow.
I get distracted with replaying wrestling in my head at work.
Yeah, I always have like it's like my own network going on in my brain.
Or when it's like close to a show, and I'll be like, oh, I can't concentrate. All I can think about is wanting to go to this show.
But I wish I could turn it off sometimes. So that's like the thing about it. Like I said, when I do something wrong, I can't just be like, you know what? Like, everything else was good. Like, so you did 100 things right and you did one thing wrong. And I'll beat myself up over, like, do I have to be perfection? And maybe nobody else even noticed. It was just something I noticed, and I just can't let it go. Same with the good. Like, I just, even when I want to be, like, doing something else, like, maybe it's like, okay, my body's beat up, maybe I should stop wrestling. I can't. It's like, every time I've got hurt and got a concussion, and everyone's like, you shouldn't be doing this anymore, you know, you got a kid, and it's like, I know, but I can't live without doing it. It's not living.
It's in you.
Yeah, it's not, it's just marking the days off the calendar. I need something to be passionate about. And then I try and find other passions, and I do like them, but nothing can compare. It's just, I don't know, I was born to do it, I think. I was just somehow...
Would you say it's in your blood?
I don't know, I guess. Like, I just feel like it was fate or destiny, I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone believes different things, everyone has different religions and faith and what they believe in. I don't know what I believe in, but I do believe, like, it was meant for me. Somehow, some way.
So how do you feel about... how do you feel wrestling has changed over the years? There we go. Let's get that way.
Well, it's different on the small scene that I am and then the big scene. Like, but I feel like everybody knows a lot about it, where when I was a kid, no one really cared, or it didn't matter. Like, it would be like going and watch a movie. You could just get lost in it. Where I feel now everyone is so smart that it's like they know all the details about it. And even like, they put out all these documentaries, and like, here are you and me talking about it, where when I was a kid, they would have no wrestler talking about wrestling in this context, right? So I feel like it, but you can't help things evolve, right? It's just like any music's evolved and other sports have evolved and other entertainment's evolved. So it's like you can't just keep doing the same thing expecting the same results. But it's changed, I think, the way people perceive it and the way the fans want to know so much, and you can't really help but give it to them. You got to give your fans what they want, right?
Yeah. I feel like the audience in wrestling has changed quite a bit too. Back to you used to see more adults going to wrestling and watching. Like when I first started going to the indie shows with Steve, I'd be there and there wouldn't be very many kids in the audience at all. Now there's so many like little kids.
Yeah, I think with all the stuff like in the movies and the stuff that they watch on YouTube, like even for me being a parent, wrestling used to always be like the naughty stepchild, where now it's like compared to the other stuff they're watching, it's like this, like my kid plays those like shooting games or whatever, and I'm like, you know what, wrestling's way better than that. So I think, and then the families, like, yeah, it really has, but, and even WWE, I find like more family, like back in the 80s obviously, but then like, once it got to the Stone Cold era, it was like everything was really raunchy and stuff, so kids were not really supposed to, but now that it's like, it's kind of built for kids, and that's where you make your money. Like if two adults go, but if two adults go and bring 4 kids, it's like, wow, that's 6 tickets instead of 2, right? So yeah, I totally agree with that.
So what does your son think of you wrestling?
He has changed over the years. At first, when he was like 5, him and his friends got like this Wii wrestling game, and we had a trampoline. And like I said, I did daycare, so we'd all do wrestling, and the other kids were really into it, and it got him into it, and I was like, hey, you know, your dad does this, right? And so I took him to the shows, like I said, and I was like, yeah, I used to wrestle, and he's like, well, you should wrestle again, right? So I did, and I lost, like, it was like my second match back, and I lost. It was against Lance Malibu, and I lost, and he broke down, and he was like, I'll never watch again. You lost, and like, he was very upset about it. So then, like, you probably noticed, he wasn't into it. He started just hanging out in the back and playing his games or whatever, which was fine for me because, like, then it wasn't a distraction. I didn't have to worry about him running around or whatever. But recently, he's really got into it because I think just nothing to do, and he starts watching matches. And plus, I've been watching a lot of these old tapes and helping get them on YouTube for 365. So he's been like seeing that I'm doing that, and he'll stop in and he's taken an interest, and now I'm like, I probably shouldn't be wrestling anymore. He's like, come on, Dad, you gotta wrestle. And he's like, when's the next wrestling show? I'm like, there is none right now. So
he's gonna keep you going till you just can't do it no more.
Yeah, and now he's into, like, we wrestle in the house all the time and like teaching moves, and he says he wants to be a wrestler, and he makes up his wrestling name. So just in the last like 6 months, he's like totally got into it, but for a while there, he didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, Lita bounces back and forth, even being so young. And she'll tell people she's going to be a wrestling Pikachu.
Yes. Did you name her after the wrestler?
We did. It's actually a funny story, Lita's name. My favorite female wrestler is Lita. Yes. And I really liked her name. So we made the decision if we ever had a girl, her name was going to be Lita. And then after naming her, after we found out we were pregnant, we were having a girl, and we were like, okay, we commit it. That's her name.
Yeah.
And this is a name I chose for her since I was like 16 years old. So
perfect.
Long time waiting to use that name. And we went to my parents, told them I was pregnant. They asked if we had names in mind. I'm like, her name's gonna be Lita. And my dad's like, that's my mom's name. He's like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, I kind of knew it's been mentioned before, but I'm like, yeah, I kind of knew that was your mom's name, but that's not who she's named after.
Oh, so it's kind of like your grandma was Lita too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because Lita is actually a very old-fashioned name from the 40s.
I never heard it until The Wrestler, to be honest, myself.
It was really popular in I think it was the 30s and 40s, and then it dropped right off, and it wasn't being used at all anymore. And then it was just here and there, like Lita Ford and Lita the Wrestler. Yeah, so a few, and then my Lita.
Yes. I can see why you like Lita too, because you guys have a similar style. I feel like
thank you.
A little bit. You know, you guys kind of similar looks and almost kind of like not the same dress style as everyone else. Like, did you ever want to be a wrestler at that point?
I thought about it when I was a little younger. And then I'm like, well, I don't know if I really want to wrestle. I kind of like just vicariously living through all you guys.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Eddie and I had talked about me doing, before I was pregnant, me doing backstage interviews with all you guys.
Oh, yeah. Kind of what you're doing now,
yeah,
right?
kind of what I'm doing now. But then I had Lita. I wasn't able to go to the shows for a long time because she had bad separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So I was kind of jailed.
Yeah, same
in
with
my
me.
house
Like, I
for a
didn't
while.
take Cooper till he was 5.
Yeah. Well, she didn't start going until she was about, I think, 3.5, almost 4 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably 4, closer to 4 anyways. And then I still couldn't do anything like that because I don't have anybody to sit with her or watch her while I would be off doing that.
It's hard. I'm lucky Cooper's so good, because if he was not good, I couldn't do it. How would I do it if he wasn't so good and just sat there and didn't bother anyone?
But now, because Steve's usually always by the ring, and with her being the age she is, she could just sit and watch. Or she would be sitting beside Ashley or something.
Yeah, it's such everyone knows everyone,
befriended each other. So yeah, I know a few people who could kind of keep an eye out for her. And like, Ashley adores her, so Ashley would have no problem watching her now. But
yeah, there's some other, I noticed some of the others, before it stopped, we were starting to bring some of the kids, like Joey Allen bring his kid, and Sabrina Kyle bring her kid, and because Cooper was a bit older, and he was kind of watching them. I feel like in another year or so, or whatever, you could do more stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, this is something I want to do, and I hope to one day bring this into wrestling, as we deal with PWA, and then I also deal with crossbody. And
it'd be like a backstage interview or something.
There's been some talk going on.
Good.
But yeah, as far as me wrestling,
no.
I'm
but
broken.
You did think about it?
Broken already.
But when you were younger, it was something that crossed your mind.
Yes, when I was a little younger, it's something that crossed my mind. More so Steve's.
Oh, really?
The wrestling part. Steve wanted to go to the school. He wanted to become a wrestler.
He told me he almost went to the one I went to.
Yeah.
At some
he wanted to. But different path for him. He became a photographer. And
yeah. And now he's such a big part of the show still too. Like, and then he's a big part of all the matches instead of just like I do my 1 10-minute thing. He's got his hands on everything, right? He
says it kind of sucks though having to watch the whole show through a little hole.
I can imagine. I would get a headache. Like it was just squinting the whole time. Yeah.
Sometimes I see him and he's like this. And I'm like, you missed a shot.
It's impossible to get everything.
Or we'll be sitting there and I'll be like, what are you doing?
Well, even sometimes there's probably boring matches. I don't want to say. Some people think certain people are not. Everyone's got a different taste.
Glances up from his camera once in a while and he misses a shot.
Well, I'm not saying it, but you did. You called him out.
I will call anybody out. That is me.
Give it to him.
So, who inspires you to keep doing what you do?
Just the people that give me good feedback, whether it be the fans or my peers. Like what some of the other wrestlers say, oh, you did this really good, or you had a really good match, or the fans praise me and said, oh, that was great, or they want an autograph, or take a picture with me. That makes it all worth it. Like, if you go home, and like, I feel like a cripple now. I've had so many injuries, and I've been told to stop wrestling by the doctors, but like I said, I would feel incomplete without it. So I thought about doing other things. That's why I tried, like I do the Weekly Whisper, and I try to do backstage interviews just to still be a part of it, but it's really not the same. But when you're in a lot of pain, or like I said, if I feel like I screwed up a move or something, and then you go home and you're kind of down, and then, the next day someone's like, oh, we had so much fun, you had a good match, and that really is like, it was worth it. It makes it worth it. The fans and your peers, like the other wrestlers, like, hey, I watched you, that was crazy, or whatever, right?
Yeah. A good thing to remember too is when you have one of those matches and you feel down afterwards and it didn't go your way, just remember, nobody's perfect. You can't be perfect, you can only be perfectly imperfect.
Absolutely. And I feel if it was too perfect, that's when it becomes like a bit of a dance routine.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're really in a struggle, it would never, like a fight, like a real fight would never be perfect, where it was like you get a perfect punch and I get a perfect punch. It's always,
there's gotta be some bumbles.
Yes. it makes it more real that way.
Yeah. So you have a podcast, The Weekly Whisper.
Yeah.
How did you get that started? Tell me a bit about it.
What happened was, back in the day, before this is in 2005 when PWA started, the internet was still popular, but it wasn't like it is now, and not a lot of people went there to find out stuff about things. But I wrote a column called The Weekly Whisper, and we would hand it out at the shows, and I would like have like the top 10 rankings and like whatever like major story was going on, I would write about it, and then I would like do a Q&A with one of the wrestlers, and then I would just print it out, and it'd be like one back and a front. It would just be a back and a front. It was called The Weekly Whisper, and then we'd post it on some of the message boards. And then when they started up 365, I was like, you need to have like a weekly whisper. And then I'm like, well, and then he was like, the guy was saying, well, we need a lot more YouTube videos. He's like, I've been slacking in that department, we need more YouTubes. And I was like, well, why don't I make it a Weekly Whisper YouTube show, and then like I can have people come on as guests, and then so I got about 8 or 9 episodes in, and this all happened. So I've been doing like 20 episodes with no news to talk about. But I also
You've been
always
doing good though, like.
Oh, thanks.
The stuff you talk about. It's
try and find something. But I also always wanted to be in news. In grade 10 and 11, I took a TV and video class, and they had this thing where in every classroom there was a TV. And it was at the first class of the day, and at the end we would do the school news, and like most of the time I was like the news anchorman, and I loved that, and I always wanted to do that, so it's like kind of combining the two. It's like news, but wrestling news.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like how your show's kind of like a news broadcast show, and
Thanks.
like all the wrestling news and all the facts and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean I should do it for like a bunch more. I did an old show called The Willow Show, Wrestling is Life, Life is Wrestling, where I did an episode every day for one full year, 365 episodes, and that covered all wrestling. Whereas this one's just 365. But I kind of want to do that one again too. I do both of them. Do like a news, but like maybe cover up maybe all of Canada, or maybe just what's hot, like cover WWE and AEW and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or you could just do like the local like indie.
Yeah. So I always have tons of ideas. I'm very like motivating and creative, but like. Out of all the ideas I have, I usually only end up doing 1 out of 20. I can only do so much.
It could be a lot to take on. It
is. And being a single full-time father, like, I mean, it's been good because I haven't been working as much during this time, so I've had more time to do stuff, but I always have a bunch of projects on the go, and there's always tons more that I want to do that I don't get around to doing.
Oh, I told you, when things were shut down, it was great because I was able to get this started.
Yeah.
I learned to crochet.
I think a lot of people with that too, like with this whole thing, they realize like if things go back to normal or semi-normal, they're like things that they always wanted to do, maybe they'll go for them now. I think it's like now you don't want to, you sat there and realized, hey, everyone kind of had that moment of clarity, I think, where they're like, this is what my life is, and you kind of sum everything up, and it's like, well, I should have done this, I always wanted to do that, and I feel a lot of people are going for it now, whether it be like, I wanted to open a food truck, or I wanted to learn how to crochet, like you said, or whatever it is.
Well, with me, with the fan, it was, man, I've been thinking about this and talking about this with Steve for a bloody year, and I just came to the realization that work isn't my life.
Yeah, it can't be.
I can do other things. So then I got this started, and now I just keep it in my head, okay, we gotta keep with this, because I really enjoy it. So.
That's the hardest thing, and I find it's always too, I always make excuses why I shouldn't do it instead of making excuses why I should do it. I'm always like, well, people might not like it, or, oh, it might not be good this, or, it's like, just do it, and then if something needs change. Like, that was my thing. I'm really, because like, I'm very hard on myself.
And you shouldn't not do something just because you think somebody's not going to like it. Screw what people think.
Yeah, I just want to make myself happy.
Do it for you,
yeah,
right?
do it for me.
Do it for you.
Like, you have to. You can't live your life based on what other people think.
Exactly.
Within reason. Like, if you're, I'm talking about following the law, obviously, but anything where you have, like, a goal or something that you want to do, don't let other people stop you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've done it so many times in the past, and I regret it. And then when I do something, even if it doesn't turn out the way I wanted it to, I'm still glad I tried. I think, for me anyway.
Okay, so on your show you like to do a top 5.
Yeah.
So, give me your top 5 favorite opponents.
Jeez. I'd have to put Eddie Osborne, Reggie Marley, Joey Allen, probably Super K, back when he was Sean Ball, not Super K, but Sean Ball. That's 4, right?
Yes.
Jeez, there's so many people. I guess Jesse Jones, because I had a good story with him for like 2 years. But there's so many. Anyone I left out, come on. I could do like 50.
I only gave him 5.
Yeah.
That's his top
and
5.
That's in no order. No particular order.
Okay, so a few wrestlers and some fans, people we both know, all have questions for you. Are you ready?
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so Will, Stewart? Shepherd.
Yeah, Will Shepherd.
Sorry, Will Shepherd. He wants to know, what are you doing without wrestling?
It's hard, but like I do this show, and I've been doing a lot of old videos that I've been converting, and I've been watching, but not a lot. Like I said, I haven't been watching a lot of the new stuff without the crowds, but I've been going back and watching stuff, and my kid's into the WW20 game. But it's not easy, Will, if you're out there. It's not fun, but I've been managing. I've been keeping myself busy enough just to not go completely crazy.
Yeah.
But I am going a little crazy. Like, I want it back very badly.
Yeah, we all want it back.
I know.
It's like, come on already.
But I think it's made us, as fans and wrestlers, or just photographers, ring announcers, referees, whatever you are, I think it makes you appreciate it more when you don't have it, right? I think at
I
least
know
that.
some of the wrestlers I've been talking to, and even Steve has said, they feel as much as they miss it, that it's been a well-deserved rest at the same time.
That too, yes.
So,
and it's a forced rest. It's not like you're just saying, I need to take a break, and then all the shows are going on without you. It's like a good excuse where you can't feel bad at yourself because you have no control over it. So yes, like my body's healing up, that kind of stuff, and
your
especially
bodies
for
are
people,
healing up just to get it beaten when you're back.
Yeah, and then also like you get your weekends back for a bit too. Like if you have kids or you don't have kids, but like you're always work Monday to Friday, and then weekends is wrestling, and now it's like, well, you can do some other stuff that you've been putting off because of wrestling. So, and you don't have to feel bad because it's not your no choice in the matter. There is no wrestling.
Okay, so Lisa would like to know, how did you come up with your gimmick?
Well, we covered that a little bit.
We did, with the whole persona question.
I'm sorry. But yes, it was like that. They started calling me, because I was 18, and all the people at the school were mostly Americans, and they were all like 25 to 30 years old. And I was 18, but I looked like I was 14. And that Elian Gonzalez kid was really young. So they would call me Cuba or Elian the Kid or whatever. And yeah, I just went from there. And then I came up with the Habanero thing. Yeah. And then the whole story and everything like that. It was like, I came over from Cuba on a raft, and all I had was my life jacket with me. So then I bought the vest because it resembled the life jacket.
Well, that ties into Corey's question, which is, why do you wear a life jacket?
Oh, I keep getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's not a life jacket. It's a vest. It's like, it reminds me of back in the days, Puff Daddy and Mace would wear these vests in their videos, but it's supposed to resemble the life jacket. It's supposed to represent that, because the life jacket just got old and stinky from the seawater and everything. So it's like, that was like the next best thing.
Yeah. Okay, so Irene is asking, why did you want to pursue wrestling?
Well, like I was saying before about no regrets and stuff, it was my number one passion. It was my number one dream. It was my number one goal, and I just felt I had to. And I was lucky because I had a supportive mother. Because, you know, like if your parents make you feel bad about doing it or don't support you, it can be really tough. So she kept pushing me in the direction of, I don't necessarily think this is what I want you to do, but it doesn't matter. If that's what you want to do, I'll support you, and you need to go for it. Like, looking back now, I wish I would have went at it differently and like had something to fall back on. Like I could have gone to college and trained at night and stuff like that, but I was just so focused on wrestling. But I don't have regrets, and I think that's the main thing. That wasn't me.
That was not Lita. That was Lita.
What's in this lemonade? Nice.
My goodness.
That's a run-in if I've ever seen a run-in. That's awesome.
Okay.
Highlight of the show.
Okay. Oh boy. Reggie Worley is asking, what is the biggest takeaway after watching hours and hours of tape in the last few months?
Okay, I know what he's talking about, because I got my hands, thanks to Joey Allen, onto VHS to DVD converter. Yeah. So a lot of the old tapes, they were on VHS. So I put it in there, burn it onto a DVD, stick it in my computer, and then get it up for YouTube so they could put it on the YouTube channel. So I've been watching. Reggie gave me like tons of tapes. Scott Chase gave me some. I had a whole bunch of old PWA shows from like 2005 to 2008. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting winded. So anyway, I've been watching all these tapes and converting them all. And so what's my biggest takeaway? Is that what it is? From watching all those things? I just feel like the veterans don't get enough credit because there wasn't a lot of tapes out there then. Like we're now, anytime you do a show, it's on YouTube the next day, and there's like 300 pictures from Skullmaster. Where back then, there wasn't. Like I did all these matches, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're a wrestler. Where's the proof?" And I never had any proof, and it was like, trust me, I'm wrestling every weekend. It's just like there was no media.
So and you say you want proof, come see me.
Yeah, but like I feel like the veterans that like I love learning the history of the people that became before me, or someone that I wrestled, and it's like, oh, they've been wrestling for 5 years before that, and I never knew, and they used to dress like this, and they had a different character or different music, and I just feel like the veterans don't get enough respect. Like those people paved the way for wrestling in Ontario before we were doing it. And they're completely forgotten about, which I wish some of them weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really fair.
No.
If they were doing it now and nowadays, everyone would know their name because of the internet. Whereas back then there wasn't that, so it was like only the people in the know knew. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, I think social media brought a lot of wrestlers out there.
Same with me. Like I can watch guys from different promotions in different cities or anybody, and their matches you can find them anywhere. Where back then they weren't. You just heard it was word of mouth. So I just feel like a lot of those guys would have been really great or were really great, but no one really knows about them.
Yeah, she's still giggling about the fart over there. Uncle Custom wants to know who's next.
For me?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I took a bunch of time off. When I was doing the interview thing, I haven't done any of the 365 shows. My last match was on the last PWA show against Reggie.
That's right.
Yeah, and then they did 2 shows in Guelph and 3 in Kitchener, I think, and I didn't do any of them because I was like, I need time off. I was in really rough shape. And now with this whole thing, now I'm like, if there's a show tomorrow, I do it, right? So who's next? Whoever wants a piece of the Cuban sensation, and hopefully it's him, because I always wanted to wrestle him.
Oh, there you go.
And we were supposed to wrestle in Kitchener at the Alpine Club, and then something happened and he couldn't wrestle, so I had to wrestle Jesse Bieber instead. And I've always wanted to wrestle Uncle Custom, so hopefully he's next.
Well, there you go.
Or anybody.
Out. You can call him.
I like to wrestle anyone. I just love wrestling, but I always had a lot of respect for him, and I was so happy when I found out I was going to wrestle him.
So hopefully that can happen.
Yeah, it will sometime down the road.
Yeah. So Lefty would like to know, how do you think indie wrestling will be after COVID is over?
I think indie wrestling, just indie wrestling, I think it's going to be huge because kind of like what we were talking about before, more families. I think the movie theaters are going to be different, there's going to be social distancing, concerts are going to be different, but I think indie wrestling is going to really prosper because people, all the bad stuff going on in society, like shootings, killings, racism, government politics, and all that stuff, and all the stuff I see my kid watch on YouTube and all the video games he plays, I think people are realizing wrestling isn't as bad as it has kind of been. I don't know. Everyone talks about it like it's not such great, but I just feel like it's going to keep getting better and better, bigger crowds, because people see it's not the same as on TV. If you're watching on TV, whether they have crowd or not, when you go to an actual indie show, it's so much more all the seats are good. Whereas if you're in a 10,000 seat building and you're up in the note, you can't really see. But if there's 200 people there, I can look every single one in the eye and interact with them. So I feel like indie wrestling is better than bigger wrestling. And I feel like it is going to just... There's so many. I did this episode on my show where I talked about, just 3 years ago, all the promotions in Ontario. And this was 3 years ago, and there was 37 promotions. When I started wrestling, there was 4 promotions in Ontario. And it was really hard to get on any of them, right? You really had to, go and pay your dues, help carrying the ring and stuff. And then someone might say, hey, someone no-showed, can you do a match? And you're like, yes, that's what I was waiting for. But I just feel like the next 5 years are gonna be like the biggest years for indie wrestling, in my opinion. I just think it's gonna blow up because like people have also been stuck in their homes with no entertainment, nothing to do. So when they're finally able to get out and do something, I feel like wrestling is something they would want to go and enjoy.
At least all the regulars are going to be flocking.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think even if sometimes in Hamilton there's like 5 different promotions. I feel like if someone ran a show on Friday, someone ran on Saturday, someone ran on Sunday, a bunch of those fans will go to all 3 shows.
Oh yeah,
you know
I know some of those fans that would probably go to all 3.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be new fans because, like I said, they might give it a chance now after all this because a lot of them serve alcohol. So if you're like in your 20s and 30s and you're like a male, like, oh, I want to go out with my college friends, it's perfect. If you want to take your family there, it's perfect because there's not too much violence, not too much swearing. It's kind of like everyone's appealed to. You'll have like someone that's silly like me. You'll have someone big and tough. You'll have someone that can do all the flips. Like it kind of is like a variety show.
Yeah.
It kind of covers all the bases. And then there's good guys and bad guys. Where like when you go to the movies, you're not really supposed to stand up and scream at the villain. But at wrestling, it's encouraged. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be huge at least for a couple years.
Yeah.
I hope so anyway.
Yeah. It can only keep growing. I think it's going to keep growing, and we're going to see more organizations popping up.
I think so. There's tons more schools too. Like when I came to Ontario, there was 2 schools, and now there's got to be over 10 schools in Ontario for sure. Probably closer to 20.
A lot. So Jimmy King wants to know: was there ever a time you thought about turning against the fans and friends in the locker room to push yourself farther up the championship ladder?
Well, I have thought about it because everyone keeps putting it in my ear. Because constantly people will say that. They're like, that would be the best thing ever if you came out and said, I hate wrestling and turned on them. But I'm like, I just don't have it in my heart. Because there was one time in 2008, there was this guy named Jesse Jones, and he like owned me. He he got control of my citizenship papers and stuff like that, so I had to do everything he said or he would send me back to Cuba. This went on for years and years, and then eventually I joined his group, and I was like a bit of a bad guy there, but I just didn't have the heart for it, and I'm not a bad guy, so I can't pretend to be a bad guy. So yes, I think about it, and like it would get a crazy reaction, and it'd be such a good surprise, but then where do you go from there? And I don't know, I just don't have the heart for it. I can't be hated. Like I can't take criticism well, and I'm already so hard on myself that some people love that, soaking it up. Like they love being booed or whatever. But yeah, I've thought about it, and I keep getting pushed by people to do it, and maybe one day I will, but I don't really want to. I would do it if I was
You would break a little girl's heart if you ever did that.
Exactly. And then they're like, well, that's why it's so good. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't know. It's not for me, but if, like, the people I do business with force me into it, it's like, you gotta do your job, right? Yeah. But I would try and talk them out of it. I would.
So, Temple.
Temple?
What do you think of the Temple?
Well...
Do we like them? Do we hate them? I hate them.
I hate them, too.
I got respect for them, though, because, like, when me and Bio were fighting them all, like, every week there, it seemed, and they always managed a way to have a better game plan than us. Like, we would come up with how we were going to beat them, and it never seemed like we ever could. And so I have respect for them, but I don't really understand why the crowd likes them.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's the unknown. Like, they throw up the temple, like, worship the temple, but it's like, what are they worshiping? They don't even explain it. They don't even say... I
think they're their own little cult.
Yeah, but they don't explain that. They don't even call it that. And I think it's the unknown, and I think people just want to jump on something and be fans of it before everyone else does, so they just like they don't even know what they're cheering, but they just want to be like a part of it because they make it seem so cool or so secretive. But I don't know if I like them, but I do have respect for them because I've battled against all of them, and it's amazing how they were able to be such cheaters, and now people are cheering for them, and it's like, what? Why are they? So I can't believe that they've done that. But yeah, I wouldn't want to join the temple. No.
Me either.
Yeah.
No way. No temple for us, right?
No.
But, yeah, I don't like how they get involved in every single match.
Yeah.
Every match.
It's always like, the number game. Like,
it's like, can we just see a match without the temple jumping in?
Yeah. I know, and then people cheer that. It's like, so what? So, like, if I cheat, they're gonna cheer for me? Like, should I just cheat then?
It's kind of funny, because Ashley and I sit together at every 365 show.
Yeah.
And, she cheers for them, and I boo for them. So we feed off each other.
But that's what wrestling is. That's the best part of it, is that the fans, and then you're not throwing fist fights at each other after. You're just like,
well, no,
I like
we're
this
friends,
person.
like...
Yeah. That's what wrestling is. That's the best way to describe indie wrestling right there. One of your good friends, you can sit there and one's booing one, one's cheering the other, and you guys are both still having a good time.
I do it at Crossbody too with Patrina.
Oh, right, yeah.
She doesn't like Pretty Ricky. I like Pretty Ricky.
She doesn't like him?
No, she heckles him.
What?
And so I cheer him, and she'll boo him. We'll feed off each other and get louder and louder and louder. But I think he hears her over me because I'm pretty quiet.
Oh, that's not fair. But that's the best thing too about wrestling, is it's all opinionated.
Yeah.
Like, some people like the guys that can go and do the super flips, and some guys like the guys that are just gonna hit the weapon matches, or some guys like the silly guys, some guys like the big, huge guys, and everybody's right, because that's what they like. It's just like music. Like, you probably like different music than me, but we're both right because we both like it.
Yeah.
So there's a reason we like it.
Yep. If you could create your own match against certain people, who would you have wrestle?
Jeez. Like, what type of match you mean, or just like who do I want to wrestle?
Who do you want to wrestle?
There's a lot of young talent coming out now that I would like. I mean, I'd love to wrestle Pretty Ricky. He'd be great. We could have a really fun match, I think, because we're both so over the top, I think.
That would be fun, yeah.
It would be crazy. I don't know. And a lot of these young guys coming up, I'd like to wrestle
He'd be
them.
like trying to smooch you, and you'd just be like, I love wrestling.
Yeah. No, not on the first date. Like, I'm more of a hugger, so it's like, no, wait a minute. You gotta buy me a drink first.
There you go. You guys would just have a hug off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but there's so much. So I like people like that, where I could tell funny stories with. But then I also like some of the young guys that, like, I'm 38. Like, I can barely keep up with these guys. But I kind of like that challenge sometimes too. And then I also like wrestling newer guys, because a lot of the people were not nice to me when I started wrestling. So I try and, like, if they're really wanting to ask advice, I try and give good advice, and I treat them as equal, because when I started, it was never, there was only a few like that would treat you equally. It's like, well, I've been wrestling 5 years, and you've only been wrestling 1. And it's like, okay, like, doesn't mean you're a better person than me, or like, I started when I was 18, I couldn't start when I was 11, right?
A lot of these young guys that are coming into wrestling, they're doing these freaking flippy moves.
Yeah.
Stuff that just makes you go, whoa.
Yeah, I'm envious, because I'm like, I wish I could do some of that stuff, but I mean, that's what wrestling is so good, the variety, I think. Like, if we all did that, then all the matches would be the same. You don't want every match being the same.
Okay, so now, to kind of switch up that question, if you could be in charge for a day and make a match between two people, who would you make a match with?
Oh, jeez.
Would you like to know who I would make a match with?
Yeah, because then I don't have an answer.
Okay, there's two people that I really, really want to see wrestle.
Yeah.
Like, really want to see wrestle. CC Moss and Holden Albright.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
They are.
I've wrestled both of them.
Really?
Yeah, I wrestled.
I know you've wrestled CC.
I wrestled Holden Albright in Hagersville for SKM Promotions.
Oh, nice.
It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great wrestler. I loved wrestling him. I wish I could wrestle him again. I only wrestled CC once, and it was in 3 vs. 3. It was like her in the temple against like me and Bia and Joey Allen or something. And I think she's a great wrestler too. I don't really agree with her choices of being with the temple.
Yeah, no.
I feel like she could be so much more if she broke out of them.
She is so strong. She could stand on her own and just skyrocket.
I would love to see that match.
Yeah, she I think she's really strong. She can throw one hell of a punch. She can take it. Holden, he gives it.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold back. Neither of them hold back.
No.
So I want to see them go at it. No holds barred.
That'd be awesome.
No temple. No temple.
Yes, I agree with that.
Keep them away from the ring. If Corey's still commissioner when we go back, he said he'll make that match happen for me, and I am
Nice.
holding you to it, Corey.
Yeah, because I know he wrestled in Guelph for us, and like I said, I've been in a couple other promotions where he wrestled. I did one in Hamilton, and I wasn't against him, but he was on the show. And I've seen him wrestle females before, too. I know he wrestled Jody Threat. He wrestled the one girl at the one show that I was on. I can't even remember. I apologize. And Cece, I've seen her wrestle against some of the guys. I know she wrestled like Super K or Joey Allen, maybe it was. I don't know, but... Yeah, that's better than anything I can come up with. Does that mean I get out of the question now?
If you want to.
Oh, God.
You don't have to.
I always
answer
think
anything
about that
you don't
too.
want to.
Honestly, I always wanted to have my own wrestling promotion, and I'm like, if I ever won the lottery, I would do it. But I can't even, like, I'm like trying to narrow it down to like which 20 guys I would want, and there's like 100 guys I want. So I'm like, good thing I don't actually have that happen, because I wouldn't be able to sleep for weeks picking
That is
who
like,
I want.
I don't even have a whole bunch of matches running through my head. My head is just stuck there on that match.
Oh man.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah, man, that would be a really good match. I like both of them, like, respect-wise in the ring, yeah.
Just have Holden come down with his creepy entrance and his creepy music and scare the crap out of Cece, but then she's all like, tough, I'm the badass girl you gotta love, you know?
Yeah, like, it would have, like, she'd be scared at first, but then it would, like, you know, like, when you're scared, you get that adrenaline, right, to fight back. They say, like, when you're in fear for your life, you have more strength than you normally would, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But yeah, he creeped me out. Like, when I wrestled him, he like had this creepy video on the screen. They had a big screen there. It was cool, and I was watching it. And then he came and attacked me, and he was like wearing the mask. And then at one point in the match, he had me down, and he put the mask on, and he like hit me, and then pulled the mask off. Like, oh man, yeah, it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Pretty scary.
Have you ever seen his entrance with strobe lights?
I think there was at that one. I'm pretty sure.
Like, they make it all dark and it's just strobe lights.
It was dark in the
this,
one. I don't know if it was strobe lights.
Music.
And he had this music. It was like, ah!
Yeah.
It's like,
Love it.
But yeah, if you ever watch that match, it's on my YouTube channel. I stole it from him. I asked him though, because he filmed it. He set up the camera, and then I was like, dude, I really want to put that match up. And he was like, yeah, no, go for it. He's a really nice guy when you're not wrestling him.
Yeah,
when you're not wrestling
you're
him.
not wrestling. Lita was so scared when she first saw him. Like, she buried herself into it. She was so scared. And he took the time after his match to say hi to her, get her to hold his belt. And I have a picture of this child with his belt, and she's just glaring at it like, this is mine one day.
Really?
And he tells people about this. He's like, he gets me to show people that picture.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, be scared, but like, okay, the match is over now. Like, it's
but
okay.
he took the time to make it okay with her. You
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah, you have to with those. Like, even
same
when
with
I get
Cece.
kids.
Cece will taunt Lita once in a while when she's coming out to the ring, and she'll wink at her to kind of let her know, like, I'm just playing with you, you know? It's
Yeah.
okay.
I get the stupidest questions. Like at intermission, like a couple of times I bit the guy in the butt, and they're like, "Why'd you bite?" Like the little kids will come up, and they're like, "Why'd you bite him in his butt?" And I'm like, "I don't know. My breath still stinks." Like, I say I couldn't. That's why I couldn't be a bad guy, because I'm like, I just don't have the heart to do it. Like, oh, I don't know how they do it, because I feel so bad if I scared a kid, even though that's what they're paying for, right?
Yeah. But it's funny, because people that do scare Lita or make her angry, she's like, well, it's okay because they're my friend.
That's good. I remember Cooper, a couple of the BC guys came down and stayed with me, and then Cooper, they would play video games with my kid and stuff like that, and he would really get attached to them, and then like they'd wrestle, and if they lost, he would cry, because he was just like, he wanted them to win so bad, because they were like his friend now, right? Yeah,
that's her. If like, you've lost matches, and she's broken right down before, and she's screaming at your opponent, giving them heck.
Well, that's so good. I mean, it's good. I mean, I feel bad that she cried, but it's so good that that's the emotion you can bring in it. That's the whole thing. Wrestling is nothing without the emotion.
Yeah. If Bia loses, oh my god, it's the end of her world.
Oh, absolutely.
The end of her, like, Bia's had to literally come and sit with her after a show and explain to her, it's okay for me to lose. I'm okay.
You can't win every one, yeah, because she wins most of them.
Yeah.
Really.
But yeah. So, what do you think of the film?
Well, I think I'm a fan of the fan. Like, what's going on here? I think everyone should be checking this out, and I'm gonna obviously tell everyone to check it out when it comes out. Like, come on. What are you waiting for? The fans are the whole reason we can wrestle. We can't wrestle with no fans. I mean, I know they do it on TV, but I couldn't do it.
No.
We need the fans, and then the fans like you are trying to help promote what we do. It's a win-win situation for sure, and I'm glad you finally did it. Like you said, you've been waiting a year to do it. Good on you. And I hope other people get inspired. If you ever want to interview wrestlers or do a podcast or whatever you want to do, just do it. Just do it. Because aren't you glad that you did it?
I am, and it's the day and age to do stuff like this because it's so easy to do it with the technology we have today, even though I'm technology challenged and Steve does it all.
Yes.
I do the talking.
Yes. You're the star.
I'm
he's
the
like
face.
He's the producer, editor, director, everything else.
But yeah, I mean the fan we're gonna be getting on YouTube soon.
Oh, nice.
Maybe, yeah, try to grab more people that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because everyone does it different. Like I find some, like my kid too. Like some of them are on Snapchat, some are Instagram, some are Twitter, some are. How do you cover all the bases?
I have Instagram, but I'm not the greatest with Instagram.
I only do Facebook. I have all the other stuff.
As you say, Facebook is what I know.
Same with me. It's just a routine.
Yeah.
I've had it since like 2008. I have all the other ones so that they can like tag me and stuff, but I don't post stuff on that because like I already spend too much time on Facebook. If I got into all of them, then I'd be like, okay, you need to take a break.
Yeah, my Instagram is more my like our tiki stuff and drink nights at the bar and stuff
and
like
he
that.
had a really successful YouTube channel. He used to do like beard stuff and lizard stuff.
He did, yes.
Some of the thrift store finds, he was even making money off it, he told me at one point.
Yeah, and then YouTube changed their thing where you had to have so many hours and views or something.
I know, I'm trying to do one with rap music right now. You need 4,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers. And I have like half of the hours, but only like 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it because I want to do it. That's why people should do stuff. Because even if I don't get money off it, it's something I like doing.
Yeah, I think right now we're deciding with the whole YouTube thing if we're going to just put the fan on Steve's existing YouTube.
Oh, yeah, or make a new one.
Or make a new one, because he's worried that people that are subscribed to his YouTube will drop out.
That's what happened to me, because I have a wrestling one where I said I did that Willow show, like 365 episodes, and then I had a couple other things wrestling, like just like I made some like highlight music videos of me wrestling and stuff, and I had like that match with Holden and a bunch of them, and then I started doing this thing where I would like review songs that I liked, and they were like rap songs. So I gained like 70 subscribers, but I lost like 20 because like the wrestling fans that don't like that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I should have just done it separate. But I'm like, I already have subscribers here.
Yeah.
And it's like my two passions. I want to combine them because I don't know if you've seen, I used to do, like I did a rap song for Reggie Marley, and I did one against Joey Allen and stuff back in the day.
Oh, yeah. He's not in, so I must have saw it.
See, yeah. So I was trying to combine them both, but that's a tough decision. I don't know what to tell you because I kind of wish I did it, but now that I've already started, I'm like, I can't. I've already spent like 5 weeks doing this. Do I really want to start over again now? So yeah, that's a tough one.
I know, but like I tell Steve, you know, what if all those subscribers you have that are into beards and snakes and lizards and bugs and stuff, they could be into wrestling. They could be wrestling
Some of them
fans.
are, yeah. I get some of them that are both, but
they all just, you never know, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
So we're deciding what to do that way.
At least it's easy. Like if you don't have copyright music, you can make money off of them. That's the whole thing. Is like because all the wrestling matches I do, I usually have to cut out the ring entrances.
Yeah.
Because if they're like a popular song, they get copyrights. But so a lot of the matches you see on YouTube, it'll just be like when the bell starts till the bell ends because you can't put the entrance. Well, you can, but then you can't make money off it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you guys have music, do you? Or
I have a little bit of an intro, but it's Steve's little thing he did.
Oh, good, yeah. So it's original, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. And then there's all those other things too. There's like a Patron, where you can like, it's kind of like Facebook, but people have to pay for your content. And then I know like I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts where they talk about it, and then they've been putting them up there, I guess. And then you pay like, it's like a subscription pay. You pay like $5 a month, and then you get all of them and stuff like that. So then maybe you could do like an interview, and then you have like the extra half an hour they pay for it or something, like the bonus questions or something like that. Or there's so many nowadays. There's so many. Like a lot of people use Twitch. A lot of people use that for gaming. It's like a free streaming thing.
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, like that's what my kid uses, and like they've kind of transferred off of YouTube. Where I'm like, no, I'm just learning YouTube now, and now everyone's doing different things. Like when my kid texts me, like if I go to the convenience store and I'm like, hey man, just stay here for 10 minutes or whatever, he won't even text me. He'll text me on like this gaming chat Discord thing, and I'm like, so I have to have this installed just to
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's just like a gaming chat thing, I guess, because you can have, like, if you're playing with 4 people, you can all talk like a group, I guess.
I'm still trying to figure out the Facebook group chats that they've created. Do you know about that one?
Like in the Messenger, you mean?
Yeah, but you could have a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Kind of like Zoom, which I have no clue how to do Zoom.
I don't have that either.
But Facebook now has chat rooms like that.
Like conference calls, right?
Kind of, yeah,
like
yeah.
Not just messages, like video?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I know, like, if I have you on Messenger, I can hit phone or I can hit video call or whatever.
And you, like, give these people, you create this room, and you give these people a link, and then they can come and join you. So I'm also trying to figure that out, because I want to work on, like, where I can have me on the screen, and then other wrestlers that can't get here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we
or
can
even have it where, like, the fans that want to ask a question, you could get them on the computer and ask their question, and then they answer it, and then get somebody else to.
Yeah.
And they might feel prouder because they got to be in the video, right? Like, I find a lot.
I also want to do like a drink night with the fan at Skullmaster's bar, so like where I get the link and wrestlers and fans can come and just.
Or it's like a contest. Who can be the winner to come? Who's the winner? Who shared it the most or something? Yeah. Then they get to come have a drink.
Or not even that. Just you know. Make yourself a drink, come and sit and like chat with me, we just shoot the shit.
Yeah, I'm having a great time, so anybody, I'm sure everybody would like that, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's been fun chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored, and I had a great chat as well. It felt like we didn't even have the camera on. But,
well, I'm glad I can make you that comfortable in my home then.
It's very, this is where you want to be.
Is there anything you would like to say to the fans and wrestlers before we go?
Just anyone that's supportive and positive. I find, if people don't know, I'm really positive. So I just, like, why focus on the negative? Whatever happens, you can't change it. Just be positive. And the people that have been positive to me and made me feel good about myself, I can't thank you enough. Because that is the reason I can get up every day and just be proud of who I am. Thank you. And thank you for asking me to come on. Like, that's, to me, you don't know, maybe you do, I don't know, but like when you're a wrestler and you're not on TV, I'm just dad. Like, I go to my work, no one cares at work that I'm a wrestler, they don't care about that. So when someone asks you to be on their show or can I interview you, it makes you feel like someone. It makes you feel important. And, like, I feel like, what else? I was probably just going to be sitting there watching the Blue Jays game and making dinner, like, but now it's like, I get to be interviewed. Like, I don't know, it feels like something you want to brag about. It feels like you're more important than maybe you feel other days. So, yeah, and I had a great time, so.
Well, thank you again for giving me some of your evening.
And thanks for everyone that sent in questions. There was quite a few questions.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
was a lot of you who sent in questions this time around. That's awesome. Keep it up.
Yes.
All right, thank you for watching The Fan. Thank you, Cuba, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Stay safe, stay happy, keep smiling. Till the next time. Bye-bye.
And remember, we all love you. And if you watch The Fan or haven't watched The Fan, make sure you join that group. Make sure you watch the videos. Like, or you get a leg drop. Comment, or you get a clothesline. Subscribe, or you get a suplex. And share, or you get a sleeper. I love wrestling. I love the Skullmasters. I love The Fan. I love Lita. Cuba.